All right, hello and welcome. So today we're going to talk about legendary items and how to craft them. Now, this is a companion video for the Max Roll guide, so please refer back to that for anything that you might miss here or forget. Of course, you can always ask me in the video comments or Discord or streams, but you'll probably get the information a lot faster from the guide, and it should be pretty comprehensive, so hopefully your question is answered there. Okay, first off, let's talk about what a legendary even is. What is this legendary thing? So legendaries are a unique with one or more additional affixes added to it. You can see in this Morning Frost here, we have 5 vitality and 20 physical resistance added to the Morning Frost. So it's taking a unique that's already probably pretty powerful. Certainly in some cases, they're very powerful, and it's making them more powerful by adding affixes to them. Now, how do we add affixes to uniques? That sounds great, but you know, we need to actually do that, right? Let's talk about that. So to make a legendary, you need 2 components. So the first one you need is a unique with at least 1 legendary potential. And you can see here on the left side, we've got Urzel's Pride. And in that little like orange bar under the armor, it says it's got 3 legendary potential. That's great. That means we can make a legendary out of this. Not only can we make a legendary out of this one, we can make a pretty good legendary because it only goes to 4. So it goes all the way to 4 because there are 4 affixes on any given item. So an exalted, like the one on the right, will have 4 affixes. And this one you can see we have 15 vitality, 3 strength, 72 health, and 22% increased armor. Now, if we were to try to make a legendary out of these components, which we can, we have a body armor, which we need it to be the same type. And we have another body armor. So Urzel's Pride's a body armor unique, and then the Exalted is a body armor. We can definitely slam these together. And what will happen is we will get 3 of those 4 affixes: vitality, strength, health, increased armor, and they will be transferred to Urzel's Pride, and the Exalted will be destroyed in the process. So for example, maybe we get really lucky. We get 15 vitality, 72 health, and 22% increased armor. On Urzel's Pride is random what we'll get, by the way. It being exalted doesn't make it any more or less likely, the affix. It's just as likely to land as the non-exalteds are. So we get those 3. We don't get the strength. Oh well. The body armor, the exalted body armor, excuse me, is now gone. It's removed. We've deleted it, but we now have an Urzel's Pride with 3 of those affixes on it. That would be a pretty nice item to have. So that is the components that we need. We need to have a unique that has legendary potential and exalted. Where do you get these items? I think we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but just to give you a quick, how to do this. Uniques, any unique that drops can have legendary potential, or almost any. For the most part, any unique that drops can have legendary potential. Some are more likely to have it than others, but really it's just a matter of uniques dropping in the world and some of them getting legendary potential, and those are the ones you craft on. There are a couple of ways to try to get legendary potential that are a little more targeted, but they're not great options. So generally it's really just trying to get uniques to drop and seeing if you can get one that has at least 1 legendary potential. And then there's a bunch of ways to get exalted items, a ton of methods in fact. So you'll just see those even when you're just playing the game and killing stuff, and just like uniques drop, so do exalteds too. And you just need to find 2 that work together. Okay, so let's see here. Is there anything I didn't cover? Some things to know about the unique. Legendary potential unique determines how many affixes will be out. Yeah, so we talked about that, right? Then the roll ranges. I did not talk about this, I don't think. Roll ranges of the affixes already on the unique will remain on the legendary. So do not re-roll. Getting unique with high rolls is desirable. So what I mean here is this 15 vitality. If we slam these together and I pulled that off, it would be exactly 15 vitality. This would be exactly 72 health. This would be exactly 20% increased armor. These are not going to change. These numbers are going to stay the same. So you can craft on this and try to get those numbers the best that you possibly can get. And that will be maintained in the legendary crafting process. Some things to know about the exalted. By same type, we mean it fits in the same gear slot. The example we use here is that if you're unique with legendary potential, a pair of gloves, then you also need an exalted pair of gloves. It does not matter like what the base type is. Like it doesn't have to be like a particular kind of glove. It just needs to be gloves. Outside the number of affixes on the exalted, it won't matter what kind they are or how many tiers they have. You can technically craft with 1 tier 6 and 3 tier 1 affixes. However, you do need to have 4. You need to have 4 affixes on the item. You can't craft something with 1, 2, or 3 affixes. And sealed affixed, which you get from the Glyph of Despair, does not count. It has to be for non-sealed affixes. I think I'm going to talk about this in a minute, actually. So yeah, let's go forward. It can have a sealed affix. However, the sealed affix cannot be transferred. So that's important to know. You can seal, just you won't get that. If you seal an affix off onto that sealed slot, it will not go onto the legendary no matter what you do. However, you can still use it to create a legendary. You've just removed that one from the pool of possible legendary affixes that will transfer. Each affix has an equal chance of being transferred to legendary. We talked about this. Exalted affix is no more or less likely, so you don't have to worry about trying to finagle that and make it work out. It's just going to be whatever happens. You put an affix on the legendary that's class specific, the legendary becomes class specific. This is really important. You can't like put a rogue, prefix on a piece of body armor and then wear it as a sentinel, even though the unique itself isn't class specific. You just made it class specific by putting that on. Forging potential does not matter. The exalted can have 0 forging potential and still be used. Do bear in mind though, if you run out of forging potential before you have 4 affixes on, you can't craft on it now, so you can't turn into a legendary. So make sure not to do that. If you want some more information on exalted and unique items, check out our gear walkthrough. Also, if you want some strategies on particular unique and set farming, we do have a unique and set farming guide. All right, crafting process. So now you've got your exalted and your legendary, and you want to smash them together, or excuse me, your exalted and your unique. You don't have your legendary yet. You have exalted and your unique, and you want to smash them together and make your legendary. How do you do that? Well, the process is actually fairly simple, but it does require you to run a dungeon. So you need to go to the Temporal Sanctum. And to do this, you'll need a Temporal Sanctum key. These drop randomly in the world, but they have a much higher chance of dropping off of timeline bosses in the Model of Fate. As you're playing the game, you will randomly get these, and then you can farm them if you want to, but you will get them. You don't have to worry about them not dropping. Okay, now you've got the key. You go to Temporal Sanctum. What do? You got to finish the entire dungeon. So you have to go all the way through it and kill the boss Jolra. We're not going to go through how to do that here, but we do have a Temporal Sanctum dungeon and Jolra boss guide if you want to know the best strategy for getting through that and all the details about Temporal Sanctum and Jolra. It is there. And if you want more information on farming keys, we also have that too, so feel free to check that out. But you already have your key here and you're just trying to make your legendary. So you've killed Jolra. Next thing you gotta do is you walk into the next room. There's a room right next to where the boss fight was. It should be north, if I remember correctly. And from there, you'll be presented with this eternity cache. This thing here, where it's like, I don't know how to describe this. It almost looks like an altar, right? It's got these gold things pointing out of it and this big purple thing on the top. You're gonna see that there's 2 versions of it, because remember the Temporal Sanctum, or if you might not know this, the Temporal Sanctum allows you to switch between 2 timelines basically instantly. It's part of the mechanics of the dungeon. And so at the end of it, we also use it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the items we want to craft our legendary. So in this case, we're going to take Urzel's Pride, and we're going to take that exalted, and we're going to toss them in to the eternity cache in the divine era. That's the one that doesn't look ruined, because it's not the ruined era. You're going to top them in there. You're going to seal the cache with a button, and then you're going to switch eras to the ruined era. Open it up, and your legendary is made. Simple as that. Pull your legendary out. You're good to go. Nothing extra you gotta do, nothing special. You just gotta get to that point to where you can actually make it by getting through the dungeon. Use the eternity cache, start divine era, go ruined era. You're golden. You're done. You've made it. Okay. Next, let's talk a little bit about component farming. So there's a number of ways we can get our uniques and our exalteds. I did mention we do have a guide on uniques, but we'll go through a couple of things here. I do recommend though, if you're really gonna try to really look for some legendary LP uniques, check out the full guide, because it's got a lot more detail in this. A couple of things to know to start with. How likely you are to even find these items with legendary potential is definitely important. They all have a legendary potential level, and a higher level means they're less likely. And some items have such a high legendary potential level, which is bad. The higher, the less likely you are to get it, that they're effectively impossible to get certain levels of LP on. For example, Wings of Argentis. I mentioned this in another video. I'll mention it again. Something like 1 in 16 quintillion chance you'll get a Wings of Argentis with LP4. Does not exist in the game. That does not exist. But there's a lot of items that do, and even at multiple LPs. So you're gonna want to just make sure that you're not hunting something that's effectively impossible. you're trying to get a 4 LP wings, you're wasting your time. It's not going to happen. But again, there are other items that you could absolutely get 1 and more, and really any item can get 1. Some are very unlikely, but it can happen, and others are actually pretty likely to get at least 1. So make sure that whatever you're hunting is realistic as far as legendary potential, because not everything is. All right, also, if you're going to hunt legendary potential, zones with the higher area levels, it's like the area level of the item, the enemies that are in that area, increases the chance that you'll get legendary potential on your uniques. Level 100 being the highest. Once you've hit that, you've maxed it out. You can't get any more likelihood of any particular unique getting legendary potential, which means that corruption item rarity do not affect it, not directly at least, but they increase the amount of uniques that drop, which means you're going to get more uniques. Because you're going to get more uniques, you're going to get more potential. So definitely want to improve those if you're looking for just generally for more uniques. Boss specific uniques can be farmed easily by farming that boss. Again, this is going to be covered in the unique farming guide, so if you want more details on that, check it out there. Increasing corruption item rarity to improve your odds is a good strategy for the bosses. So as you're farming a boss that has a specific unique, excuse me, that you're looking for, increasing corruption and item rarity will make it more likely to drop that. World drops are a little bit harder, but you can farm specific timelines that have echo rewards for that unique type, or you can use a Rune of Ascendance, which will allow you to take a craftable item, anything from common all the way up to exalted. And as long as it's the right item type, say boots, you're looking for a particular pair of boots, throw in any pair of boots that are common through exalted, use the Rune of Ascendance, it will turn it into a unique pair of boots or set pair of boots, and so there's a chance it'll be the ones you're looking for. It can be any of them. It doesn't matter what their item level is, nothing. We do not recommend farming the as Arbor dungeons. This method is better served for farming crafting materials exalted, but it is an option. Okay. Again, this stuff all is covered more in our unique farming guide, so I definitely recommend that. Let's talk about exalted. This one we don't need a guide for as much because it's not quite as complicated. In order to get tier 7s to drop, so there's tier 6 and tier 7 exalted, right? Tier 6 is good, but tier 7 is better. If you want tier 7s, you got to be at least area level 90. So make sure you're up there if you're looking for those. For general hunting, you're not targeting a specific type. Echo reward nodes are pretty efficient, especially with higher corruption. So the higher corruption you are, the more likely you're to see the exalted echo rewards. So you can look for ones, like if you're looking for an exalted pair of boots, maybe get lucky and you'll see an exalted pair of boots. Echo reward. I think that's an echo reward. I know some exalteds are not actually echo rewards. Some exalted item types, can't remember which ones exactly, but some of them don't show up. A lot of them do though. I know weapons do. For you're looking for a weapon, that'll exist. Like this Arbor dungeon is actually a great way to get a lot of exalted. So it's not a good way to get uniques, but it's a great way to get exalteds. If you have the gold, it takes a lot of gold. It takes millions of gold. So I mean, you can do it with less, but the more efficient way is to do it with a lot of gold. This is a good option. Soulfire Bastion Dungeon provides an opportunity to target belts, boots, and gloves which don't have timeline reward echoes. It's actually a pretty good choice for these. And if you have an incredible exalted that you want to use as a legendary, but either don't want to lose exalted item or want more than one shot at getting the right affixes on your legendary, use the Rune of Creation to make a duplicate. You have to have forging potential in the item though. If you do, definitely do that. You can duplicate the item, and then if it fails the first time to give you the affixes you want on the legendary, you can get your hands on another unique with legendary potential. You can try again. All right, that covers everything for the legendary crafting guide. Hopefully that answers any questions you might have. Again, if it doesn't fully answer them, please feel free to reach out to me or read over the guide a little bit more to see if you pick up on what you need to pick up on. But yeah, the legendary crafting is not super complicated, so hopefully you've got it down now. Thanks for watching. See y'all again real soon.